Hello?
Hey, buddy, it's me, Sammy. Let me put you up to date on what's going on.
Oh, about that kid I asked you about?
I straightened that situation out already. I'd like you to come down and we'll talk about the kid and a couple of other things. I know you have that wine situation, and I got a guy I think you'd be very interested in.
Okay, sounds great. Where are we gonna meet?
That uptown joint I told you about. It's a good joint. You don't need to bring anybody. I have security for the both of us. You don't have to worry about anything. Hey, Italiano.
Hi, Sammy.
Hey. Gravano. Good. Buono. Hey. Hey, well.
Hello, Mr. Sammy Gravano. ¿Cómo stai?
¿Cómo sta?
How are you? Welcome.
beautiful.
Stiamo cucinando. We're cooking.
Thank
Va
you.
bene, grazie.
You sit by the bar. Watch everything. Hey, bro.
Hey, Sam. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you, buddy. You look good.
Feel good.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Good. Sammy, thank you again for coming. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
You picked a good spot.
It's a great spot.
You got a piece of the place.
No.
Come on,
it's a
Sammy.
long story. No. I wish I did. It's a Sicilian woman, and she came to the United States, and she was living in New York for a while. Then she came out here. She's opened up the place. She cooks like Grandma would cook.
Yeah?
You know,
Oh, gosh.
that style of
Well,
food.
I thought it was a good time. I told you, anytime I come into town, I'm going to check in with you, speak to you first. I think it's the right thing to do, and just spend some time together. You know, and I got this nostalgic feeling, like a good feeling, like it was back in time, back in the day.
And this is exactly what it was like. You know, when you went into someone's territory where they were, you announced yourself, you're coming, whether you look for their help or whatever. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
That's what we did all the time, you know. You know, sometimes, you know, as long as we're here, we'll talk about it. Sometimes people get the wrong impression of that life because of all the nonsense that's out there. But they really got to understand what this life was really all about, what Cosa Nostra was really all about. And again, I don't think you or I are here to glorify the life. We know there's good and bad and everything, but there was some good parts about that life, Sammy, that you can't learn anywhere else. It really benefited us in many ways.
You know, it's a good time to talk about it because you're right. Cosa Nostra taught us bad things and it taught us good things. But it gave us an understanding of what's going on.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I brought you two gifts, actually. One gift, you probably heard I wrote this book, and the title I know you're going to relate to because...
I heard. I thank you so much for this. Mafia democracy, and I see the Capitol building and the strings, and I want to apologize. I should have brought a book. I'm going to sign a book, my book, to you.
Oh, you owe me that one.
I definitely owe you that.
And I brought you must have heard about the wine.
I did.
But we're going to open it here. I brought you a case, actually, but a bottle will open up here. Because I remember, Sammy, anytime we had a discussion about anything, there was always a bottle of wine there. We always enjoyed wine together. So,
a little wine, a little black coffee, a little
black coffee, anisette. You don't even hear anisette anymore. Now it's sambuca.
I know.
But remember when we used to drink, it was black coffee and anisette.
Anisette, a little orange, lemon peel.
Little lemon peel,
right around the thing. And it's the way, I love it that way.
You know, that's the one thing, I got to tell you this. Italians that came out to California 20 or 30 years ago, they're not Italian anymore. They don't have the same tradition, even the ones that come from New York. Right. I don't know if you found that out here, but there's such a, I don't know why people lose it out here.
I think it's not only where you live, whether it's California or Arizona. I think that we lost our heritage. We intermarry, we have different relationships, and it changes everything. You're in business with so many different people. Like my mother and father had a dress factory. It seemed like everybody knew how to sew and cook. So it was different. And as the kids, and we grew up,
so different.
Then our kids, it changes. It always does. Life changes.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that because my grandmother, my mother's mother, she had a factory also. And she had, I'll never forget, and the reason I'm saying this, she had about 40 women working for her. My dad was able to keep the union out. She didn't have a union there at that time. But she had about 40 women working. Blacks, Puerto Rican, a lot of Puerto Ricans, Spanish. Everybody got along. So different today. You know, I never seen this country so divided. I never seen things so tense, and I just don't understand it. It was better, we grew up in a better era than we're having now, without a doubt.
I think I know what happened. I think this is created by the liberal elites, where they want the blacks to hate the whites because of slavery that happened 100, 150 years ago. Half the, I don't even know what it is. I'm not a young guy. They're busy having everybody fighting while they're committing so many crimes. Yeah. It's not so much that the people really hate each other. It's what they're being told by the media and all kinds of things. Everything is a problem. I mean, you talk about two people having two different opinions. Now today, if you don't agree with somebody's opinion, there's a war over it.
There's a war, you're an outcast.
You're an outcast and this and that. I mean, years ago, you were at the most craziest things we would disagree. And we would drink wine, like you said, talk, smoke a cigar, laugh. By the time the conversation was over,
we're friends.
You're friends, you still respect each other. You might have had different opinions, but you still got along.
You're right, and you know what? It all starts at the top. And it trickles down to everybody else. But you know, one thing that Cosa Nostra taught us, it taught us to get along with people. We had to get along.
Absolutely.
You know, and people think that we were a divided group of people fighting with one another all the time. It's so far from the truth. And again, I don't want to, look, like you said, there's good and bad and everything. We understand that. But so many good things that we took from that life. I know I did. If the respect that we had with one another was being seen in our life today, everybody's life, this would be a much better place.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, they talk about racism and things like that. Now, we had number banks and dealt with blacks, with gambling, even drug dealers and people like that. We had relationships with blacks, Hispanic, everybody. I don't remember hating each other.
I get, you know, on YouTube all the time, people telling me, none of you Italians, none of you mob guys like blacks. And I say, where did you get that from? You know what they quote? They quote The Godfather. I said, that was a movie. That was made up. It was fiction. Because we didn't think that way. We didn't feel that way. I said, we had friends of all nationalities, or we did business with everybody.
Yeah, look at Fat Tony and them. Their clubs in
Harlem.
In Harlem.
Yeah.
There was Harlem. There were restaurants right in Harlem. And now they want to use that as this is the way it was. No. A lot of these movies are bullshit. Most of them. They need to do these things to get power. Power brings greed, brings money.
Absolutely. You know what I say? I say this all the time and probably get beat up for it, but Cosa Nostra had a tremendous impact on this country for over 100 years. No doubt. It's part of our history.
No question.
We know that. And so many things that we learned through that life, if people would understand that and see that there was a lot, the discipline that we had, the respect that we had, right, the structure that we had. I mean, it was a real organization, you know, and it was something. Look, when I got made, Sammy, I know you feel the same way. I had a very idealistic view of the life. Hey, I was going to be part of something my father was part of. That meant a lot to me. You know, we got this brotherhood. I got your back, you got mine. And for the most part, we operated like that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not saying we were saints or we were angels or anything like that, but, you know, we took care of our neighborhoods. We took care of people in our community. We didn't abuse innocent people on the street. You know, we see that in the movies. That's all nonsense. That stuff never happened. Never happened, Sammy.
Right.
And, you know, to see what's going on today and to see some of these people talking out of their head, they don't know what they're talking about. I don't know. I don't know why I'm even saying. I guess because we're together and we both understand and we're just, you know, shooting the breeze in that way. But, you know, I don't know. I just wish things were different because, you know, I got kids, I got grandchildren. This country is so much different than what we grew up in.
Oh, absolutely.
In many ways.
Buonasera, Sammy. How are you? Come stai?
Molto bene.
Wonderful. It's a beautiful pleasure to have you here today. May I start you with maybe an aperitivo? What would you like?
No, you know what I'd like? He gave me a gift of this wine.
Like a bottle of that?
Yes.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Would you like to try a little bit first?
No, fill it up.
Fill it up.
Buono.
Grazie.
Michael, again, thank you for this wine. I'm going to put it over here and the book. I'll put it over here so I'm going to take that bottle home and this bottle.
Yeah, we're going to knock this one off.
Yeah, for sure. That's great wine. Where was it made? I mean,
Believe it or not, Armenia.
Armenia.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story. About maybe a year and a half ago, a young guy comes to me, an Armenian guy, who said he's been following me since he's 10 years old. He's 22 years old. And he came down to meet me, lived up in Sacramento, and I sat down with him for about an hour. I was so impressed with this young man. And he told me, he says, listen, my family has a vineyard in Armenia for the last 25 years. He said, that's where my homeland is. He said, when Noah's Ark landed at the foot of Mount Ararat and the flood subsided, the first vineyard that was ever grown in the new civilization came out of Armenia. He said, it's a transforming, you know, time in civilization. You transformed your life. He said, I want to brand wine in your name. And I thought about it, I did some research on it, I found out what he said was true, but he impressed me so much, Sammy. You know, unlike this generation that, I don't know, I think a lot of these young men are lost. I said, you know what, his name is Sammy, another good Sammy, right? I said, let's give it a shot. And he started it less than a year, and he's doing such a great job with it. People are loving the wine, and we'll see where it goes. You know, we feel good about it.
It's great wine. I mean, that's a hell of a story. I think if I would have known him, he would have told me a story like that. I probably would have shot him.
Probably. Thank God he came to me and not you.
Yeah. So I was going to do wine. I'm thinking of Sicily. I know some people in Sicily. And wine.
You should do
but
it.
No. You're doing it. I don't want to interfere.
All right.
All goes in Australia. We respect one another. Or I would do it.
I appreciate it. And let me ask you this, Sammy, honestly. It's just me and you here. Do you miss the life?
I got to be honest, yes. I do miss it because it's about our heritage. I don't miss the ugly things, but I miss the part of my mother, my father, were Sicilians, aunts, uncles, relatives, and so many people I knew. Like I said, they owned a dress factory. There were so many Italian women who would come in, seamstresses and working. And as a kid growing up, I knew them. So I got a really good flavor of our heritage. The Mafia was part of it. They brought people in from Italy, seamstress and bricklayers, and so many good things for this country. You know, we only talk about the Mafia and the bad things, but there's so many good things. So I miss that part of the life. Not all of it, but that part of the life, you know, just like now, we sit down. I feel, I didn't know you too well, but I knew you well enough, and I feel like sitting down with you now, I feel like we're related. That life, when we took that blood oath in our hands as a brotherhood or a secret society, but there was a lot of ugly things that transpired. I look at that, I hate that, hurt some families, but that was the law enforcement. They made this RICO law and so many things that hurt us, hurt our families, and we're not that bad.
No, they wanted to kill us.
They just wanted to wipe us out because they wanted the power. They knew we had power within unions and this and that, and they tried to squash us.
And not only that, Sammy, they made their careers on our names because for some reason we captured a lot of press and publicity, and you know, getting us was a big deal for them. It made their careers.
Yeah. You know what they hated? In the communities that we lived in, and I think it was the same for most of us, we always felt this is my community. And we helped people. We protected women, children. You know, if you were a child molester, you came into our neighborhood, you got killed.
100%.
You couldn't bother. So I didn't even know a woman. I was protecting her. Why you was bothering her? So that's why the people started saying in our neighborhood, yeah, we know what they do, but they kill each other. They don't hurt us. We're actually safer. And they hated that. The government hated that.
Sammy, my sisters used to come home at 2, 3 in the morning. If they were walking alone, guys would walk with them to make sure they came to the house.
Right.
Did we ever lock our doors at night?
No.
Never left the windows open. Never. I mean, you know, we kept our places. We respected the people in our neighborhoods and our community.
Right.
People get a different impression now. Like we're just animals out there killing people and shaking people down and doing all of that. The numbers business was good for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
People actually hit the numbers and made money.
And they gambled a little bit. They had some fun.
Yeah, and all the women wanted to play with us. They all did. Every day they put down $1, $2, whatever it was. They made it sound like we were robbing people in the neighborhood. It was just the opposite.
Right.
Just the opposite. You know that.
We had a thing. We was able to see the void, what people need or want or enjoy, and we gave it to them.
Yeah.
Whether it was gambling or when there was prohibition, we gave them speakeasies and booze where they could live, they could relax. Today, the government, I don't know who the fuck they think they are. They tell you everything, how to live, how to breathe, how to do everything. I saw Joe Rogan on television. Joe Rogan said, if I want to be able to smoke pot, I don't need you to fucking tell me. I'll think about it. Who the fuck are you? Yeah. If I want to smoke pot, I'll smoke pot. If I could drink liquor, what, because you get your end of the liquor? You make money on that, so it's allowed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the truth. They stick themselves in every part of our life. It's not only taxes. It's so many things. You gotta. one guy was telling me that he drives a bike now, a bicycle, not a motorcycle, a bicycle, and he's got to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
Kid or a guy don't want to wear a helmet. Who the fuck are you to tell him he's got to wear a helmet?
You're right.
So every part of our life, they want to control us. And control is about power and greed, always. You know that, and I know it.
Yeah.
And your book, from what I heard, I didn't read it yet. I'm pleased that you gave me that book.
Well, you're going to relate to everything in the book, Sammy, because I get in trouble for saying this, but I think the government is operating worse than we did. Even they talk about the unions. Look at how much control they have now with the teachers union. They basically bribed the teachers union in every way. Right. It's a tool of the government now, the teachers union, because of what they donate, what they do, what they control. You know, look.
And the unions, I specialize in the unions.
You know that. That's your thing.
That was so corrupt, it was pathetic.
I know.
You know, the best part, I used to, the guys in the union, and I would talk to them, and I would, you know, they were doing what they were told. They were making money. And I told the guy one day, how much do you make a year? He was, I think, a vice president or something. $200,000 back then. $200,000 a year you make? I said, that's so crazy. On people's union dues. Mm-hmm. you're making 200. Then we had one guy's a friend of ours, mate guy, and he was doing the laborers union. So he was the president. His brother was the vice president. His daughter was the secretary. It was a shakedown. So
Yeah, but
it's,
Sam, I know what you mean, but listen, we got a pizza franchise called Slices. We opened up a store in California, in Orange County, in a spot that was a prior restaurant. It was a restaurant already. All we did was put in a counter, nothing else. It took 1.5 years to get permits, and it cost us between architect work and fees and everything that we had to pay. It cost $100,000 just to open the place. We're not doing it without construction or anything else. Between the architect, the design, and everything else that we had to keep submitting to the building department. And I kept saying, but this was a restaurant already. We didn't change anything. And this was right after the pandemic. I said, don't you want us to open up again, get into business? I said, how could it take us this long? We couldn't get anything done. It was unbelievable.
They don't want mom and pop stores. They want corporate stores. When you're a mom and pop store, they don't want you.
Yeah, but they talked
And
about
then-
us hurting business. They're crushing businesses.
They're crushing. They're crushing you. And then I don't feel sorry for you spending $100,000 because you got a fucking lot of money, bro. So don't be worried about the 100,000.
Yeah, but I don't want to give it to the government, right?
I don't blame. But yeah, so I get it. The unions and the whole 9 yards. It's really, and like you said, they're corrupt. The Mafia, they made us look like Boy Scouts. When I see what they're doing to people, they're bringing fentanyl and so many things coming across the border, and government agencies are telling them this is what's coming across the border, and they don't shut it.
100%.
So
What do you, let me ask you a question. What do you think the reasoning is? Why are they opening up these borders? Why are they allowing these drugs to come across? Why are people are coming into the communities, they have no idea who they are? I think there's I even forget the numbers, there's over 3 million people that have come in the last 2 years.
yeah,
Why are they doing this? What is your opinion of it?
my opinion is that everybody, it's for votes.
We
It's for
totally
votes.
agree.
They want those people to vote for them. And they're giving them things. Now, nobody bring them over the border. They put them on buses and planes and give them. Now
Cell
they're talking
phones.
about giving them some sort of a license where they could vote. So it's definitely about votes. And but the sorry part of that is that they don't care how much disease, how many people die, as long as they get their way and do what they want to do. In other words, and I love when politicians say, no, we're going to open the borders because we're going to be humane. To who?
To who?
To strangers, people bringing in drugs, people from other countries, people with diseases. Why don't you be humane and look at the people who belong to you in this country? A friend of ours, here's a Bunny Buster.
Oh, Gigi.
Great. Leave it over there. I got it. Yeah, let's open.
Oh, that looks great.
We got it.
Good timing, Gigi.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you enjoy it, please.
That looks good. That looks real good.
A little bit more wine, perhaps?
Please.
A little bit more.
Sammy?
Yeah. Sure. Thank you, Gigi. Yeah.
Sammy, I don't know about you, but to me, you still can't beat Italian food.
No. I don't think so. We're raised on it all our lives. So anyway, let me tell you what a friend of ours, who was obviously a boss of a family, Joe Bonanno, he wrote a book, and he said, at the end of the book, he said, a country doesn't need a president. A country needs a father of the country, not a president. Somebody who's a father, who looks at the country, men and women, black and white, no matter what religion, nationality you are, as their family, their kids. Now, you're not going to please everybody, so you're going to make decisions that help some people and maybe hurt other people a little bit. But that's important. We don't have that. We have a president or presidents or politicians who are greedy. It's like, wow, we got it. We're going to just rob these people blind. We're going to do things, opening the border and giving the people a bullshit line. Hey, this is a beautiful thing we're doing. For who?
I don't think people believe it.
No. Well, a lot of people do believe it, or they wouldn't be voting these people in. Listen, we gave 40 or 60 billion dollars to Ukraine when Russia fighting the Russians. Now, I feel sorry for the people in Ukraine, but 40 to 60 billion. When Trump was the president, they couldn't give him $5 billion to close the border. It was too much money. And they give 40 to 60 billion dollars to Ukraine. How many black people, how many homeless people, how many people suffering from diseases could benefit with that 40, 60 billion in our country? Is that not humane? It's more humane that we disregard those people and send it to over there. I don't know how that makes any sense to anybody. I don't know how that the general public don't see that, and it doesn't bother them.
You know why they don't see it?
Because the fire don't hit their ass.
It's not only that, because if you don't watch Fox News or read the New York Post, you don't know any of this, Sam.
Yeah, it's true too.
Because they control all the media, and people that are watching CNN and watching MSNBC, they don't see any of this. They don't know. But forgetting that for a moment, I'm telling you, I get so angry. It's hard for me to even talk about it because I see corruption at the highest level. Let me ask you this, Sammy. In our life, you got a friend, you got a business partner. He lies to you once. All right, you get a little upset, you talk, you straighten it out. The second time starts to get a little bit more intense. Third time, fourth time, that's it. You're done with it. How are you going to stay with a guy? These people get on television, on video, and lie every single day. And you know what we say? People say, oh, that's politics. Yeah. It's not politics, it's lying.
Well, when it became, I'll give you another example. Society people become numb. We're numb. We once had the association with the bread. And with the bread, they raised the bread. The people who make the dough and make the bread, we told them, raise your price by 3 cents a loaf. The delivery people, we said, when you deliver it, raise the price by 3 cents. The store owners, we told them, raise the price by 3 cents. That's an extra money for you guys. Everybody was happy because they all made more money.
Yeah.
And the bread, we took 3 cents. So it went up by whatever, from 18 cents to 28, 31 cents a loaf. Now, even my mother and father, I remember complaining, look how expensive the bread got.
Mm-hmm. I
didn't want to say I'm part of robbing it. I know the people around, and so I didn't want to say nothing. But my mother and father, they says, okay, give me money, go buy a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
They just went on. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
They didn't do nothing more than complain a little bit.
Yeah.
And they went on with life.
Yeah.
And that happens now.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. In even when we had the garment industry, I remember where they were making $4 or $5 each dress. I would drive by in a car, and I'd see a woman. Wow, that's one of the dresses. I'd blow the horn and wave. She thinks I'm flirting with her. I'm not flirting with her. I buy some more of those dresses. I'm making $5 a dress. Not me, but the Mafia is. So we were like, I'm not flirting with you. I'm happy you're buying those dresses. We're making $5. And they're numb. They'll keep doing it. So that's exactly what's happening now. We'll complain about everything. The gas. You know, I go to the gym, and I see a couple of black guys I know. I say, what's up, bro? The guy turns around, he says, gas, milk, everything is up. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy, it is. Right near my office, there's another office. They sell electrical supplies. and I was walking my dog, Lily, one morning, and I said, how's your business going? They said, it's going great. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, we have a couple of problems. What's the problem? One, we put it in order because it comes from overseas. We can't get the shipment. So we can't deliver.
Yeah.
One. Two, we go to hire kids coming out of college, young kids, and nobody wants to work. He says, so those are things
That's a big
are
problem.
killing us.
Big problem now.
Yeah, I hired a couple of young kids. They buckled right away. They don't, I mean, you know what it is? Coming out of college, they're smart, they learn things, but I've learned that they have no common sense and no wisdom at all. They're like robots.
Agreed.
They never took some hard knocks in life. They don't know what it is to be beat up and banged around a little bit. They don't have that drive. You know, when I was young, you couldn't get a job. You dirtied your hands. You went to work, shoveling horse shit if you had to do it. I mean, you did whatever you had to do. Now the kids
no choice.
they feel entitled. They got parents who are going to pay 40, 50, 60,000 a semester, a year, whatever it is, to send the kid to college, and they're not really coming out. You know, they're coming out.
To be indoctrinated in college by some crazy professors teaching them.
Yeah.
You know that
Yeah.
that the country is bad and
And
you
then
got to
they
accept
say,
every crazy
you
fad.
gotta accept everything. Now, there's a guy, and he's wearing high heels and a dress, and he says, I'm a woman. I know what he is, bro. I seen him in the men's room. But I don't give a fuck. You want to be a man, a woman? Go ahead. Be a woman. That's cool. So I say, well, listen, how could you just, it's physically impossible that you're not a woman, you're a man. I know, but you have to accept that. I have to accept that? Yeah. All right. I want to say right now, I'm 23. Oh, no, you can't. Why? Why can't I? Why are you not accepting my age as 23? I mean, I don't look like 23. That guy don't look like a woman. But I have to accept that one. So all of this bullshit we're getting fed, I look at it, I say, this is insanity. Now, if a guy wants to be gay, wants to be a woman, whatever he wants to be, I'll respect that. I'm not against it. I'm not. I could care less. It's not my thing, but if it's good for you, you're happy with it, cool. But you can't tell me to accept certain things that are just physically impossible, but this is what they're doing now.
And you become an outcast if you don't accept it. I don't know about you, but I know you think the same way as me. Thank God my children are older. My youngest is 24 years old. But if a guy who says he's a girl is going into the women's bathroom with my young daughter in there, I got a problem. And so does he. I'm not going to allow that to happen. But that's being forced on us. Let him go to the bathroom he belongs in. Nobody's saying that, but
I agree.
don't force it on us to accept it, and don't make us an outcast if we don't agree with you. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And we agree on that. I'll tell you one thing, Sammy. Cosa Nostra at least taught us how to be men. Today, you know, you get guys like Jordan Peterson. You know who he is, right?
Yeah.
Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson.
Andrew Tate, they're beating up on this Andrew Tate.
These are guys that are talking about men being men, teaching young men how to act like men, the way we were brought up. And the controversy around them. You think that too? I mean, Andrew Tate's a little bit controversial.
I listened to him. He's just a little too much.
But his message, what he's trying to teach young men is to be men. Forget about some of the things he says about women.
Right.
We don't have to agree with that. But today, men have to learn how to be men. I believe every young man at 18, 19 should go in the military.
Yeah. I got drafted and went into the military for 2 years.
And what did it do for you?
I learned so much. First of all, I was physically in shape, so it didn't bother me any. But what I did learn, I met people from down south, from the north, different states, different things that happened that I never had any kind of access to living in Brooklyn, New York. So it just taught me a whole bunch of stuff, and it taught me about being a man is right.
Respect for authority.
You know, Israel, every person who goes to school, every person, man or woman,
Men and women.
have to go in the military. I think it's for 2 years.
2 years, yes.
Which is a beautiful thing. They learn to be patriotic. They learn about the country. It's a beautiful thing. Then they go on with their lives.
But what else do they learn? Respect,
Yeah,
discipline,
yeah.
how to accept authority.
Right.
These young kids can't handle that today. I'm not throwing a blanket over everybody, but the large percentage of them. And you know, I say this, and tell me if you agree. I say the root problem of what's going on in America with our young people is the breakup of the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Family. And you know what did that? Colleges. Everybody went to college. They go away to go to college. They learn an education. Then they go to another state and they go even further to get a job. So they're gone. When we were growing up, I know me, my grandmother owned the house. When she died, her son took it over. When they died, her son took it over. Never even got rid of it.
Exactly.
It was always, and you not only had all kinds of relatives in the neighborhood, not only your mother, father, uncles, aunts, cousins, sisters, brothers, whatever, but the neighborhood itself stayed like that. So you knew that person all the time.
Exactly.
Like when it snowed, my father would say, there was 2 houses.
Go help. Yes.
We were in the middle house, and there was 2 houses on either side. Jewish people owned the houses. My father would tell me, go shovel their snow, and you shovel ours.
Right.
I said, why, Dad? He's an older man and he goes to work.
Yeah.
Do it. So you learn respect. You learn to respect your neighbors. They became almost family too.
Yeah, but you see, you had a mother and father. You know, the time I spent in prison, so many of these young, and I have to say, mostly black African-American kids, they looked up to us in prison because we had a reputation, right? So many of them, Sammy, you notice, you could write the same script. They came out of a broken home. They had no father in the house. Mm-hmm. Their mother, normally young, trying to do her best. She had her own situation, her own problems. They gravitate to the street. They start doing petty auntie stuff, dealing in drugs, robbing little things. Before you know it, they end up in prison at 20, 21 years old.
Yep.
They had no role model whatsoever. And
Right.
today, people are saying, well, you don't need a father and a mother in the house. Look, I got 7 kids. And my young son, Michael Jr., my wife had them in church. We had family around them. Even though I was in prison, they had the best of everything. I tried to teach him right. I had a lot of trouble with my son. I couldn't communicate with him.
7 kids you had?
7.
You got a little rabbit in your ass. 7 kids.
Hey, listen. 7 kids.
Yeah, God bless you, bro.
I got 5 daughters, but I'm saying my son, Michael Jr., you would have thought he grew up in a different house. I couldn't communicate with him, and I communicate for a living. He didn't want to know from nothing, and I'm saying, and this is a kid that grew up, even though I did time in prison, he still had the right upbringing. Imagine these kids that have nobody. They have no father figure in the house. They have nobody telling them what's right and wrong. What do we expect from them?
I work on now things on prison reform with a couple of friends of mine, and I talk about this exactly. You know, we have people, we put them in prison, they come out, and we teach them nothing in prison.
Nothing.
And they come back into society. And what do we expect that kid to be?
Exactly.
And they so a lot of things I agree with what you're saying, and our environment teaches us what we are. A lot of times when we grow up, I love my mother and father, but they were like, it's my mother and my dad, and what taught me was my environment, the people around me, kids. You want to be trendy, you want to hang out with the kids. You don't want to listen to mom and dad. Come home, go to bed 8 o'clock. No, not me, bro. 1 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be looking for me. I'm not coming home. So you're a product of your environment. And if your environment isn't strong, your family is not strong, you're going to grow messed up.
And you are who you hang out with. If you hang out with a certain crowd, you're going to be
Right.
like that crowd.
Right.
No doubt.
Right.
But by the way, my son's straightened out now. But I used to go crazy, Sammy. I said, I can't communicate with this kid. My son, he turned me off. My wife used to tell me he's a late bloomer. Don't worry about it. And I used to say, but how late? When is this kid going to come around? She was right. You know, he's 33 now, and he's doing great, and he's straightened himself out. But my point is, even in the best situation, with a mother and father around and good people around him, these kids have so many distractions at their fingertips on their phones that we never had.
Right.
So this is what we have now. And this is what, you know, Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate are trying to talk about. Men being men. And I believe, and they believe, that if you're telling a man to be a man, you're not offending women. You're actually benefiting women. Because if men act like men and treat women the right way and act the right way, women are going to benefit by that. But somehow there's a section of people today, the women get offended by that, like you're saying something wrong about them. But you know, look, your wife, your daughter, they want men to be men around them, you know, and listen, I don't know. You know, we're trying to solve the world's problems here, but it's just when you're old school like you and I, we just have different thoughts in our mind. And
Yes. I don't mind problems with families and structures like that. What I can't stand is politicians and schools and unions, things like that, the news media, that is destroying our lives. They're helping it. Now, if a kid has a tough time, comes out of a tough neighborhood, has a little tough times, sometimes a little knock, a little whatever benefits them. But they have major enemies. These enemies are taking things away from them, their rights, their liberties. So it's going to make it even 10 times harder on everybody. And that's what really upsets me more than anything, you know.
that was terrific, by the way.
Yeah.
Tell Gigi it was great. Sammy, you want to know what? I believe we would have done a better job running this country than the government is doing today. So let me ask you a question. If you were president of the United States, tell me what would be the first thing that you would do in current times? You get into office, what's the first thing you're going to do? How are you going to straighten this mess out?
Wow, that's a hell of a question. If I was the president of the United States, the only thing I could think of, I think back when John Kennedy was the president of the United States. And I'll never forget the statement he made. Don't ask what your country could do for you. Ask what you could do for your country. If people had that kind of an attitude, and that needs, like you were saying, it comes from the top, that needs to be the top person thinking and saying that. And if the people would feel that way, this country would be fine, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you. And by the way, you remember this, Kennedy's a Democrat. Do you remember when we were growing up in our time, there wasn't that much of a difference between Democrats and Republicans. It was minor differences, but we had the same patriotism. We cared about our country. We wanted everybody to do well.
Right.
Today, the division is like we're at war.
I remember we rigged the election during Kennedy.
I remember that.
I was part of running around with signs and unions, and that was definitely rigged. We had Hollywood, Sinatra, and everybody and their mother, unions right across the country.
Oh, you pushed. You didn't really rig it.
Well, when you push in a certain capacity, that's rigged. I don't mean going in there and fixing or forcing.
It wasn't fraudulent. It was rigged.
It was
I
rigged.
get what
In
you're
other
saying.
words, you're brainwashing so many people to do something. After a while, that person could be so brainwashed, it's really not that. They're voting what you told them.
Mm-hmm.
It was like doing the same thing with the unions, the bread. You tell them it's costing 28 cents instead of 18 cents, and they just go along with it.
But you didn't answer my question. President Sammy the Bull Gravano, tell me the first thing you would do to straighten out this country right now.